How's it going, guys? I hope you guys had a great week. So I'm back today with another video, and today we're going to talk about some of the games coming out in 2021 that I'm really looking forward to. So these are the 14 most anticipated games of 2021. I'm going to do these actually in release date order, and kicking us off first at number 1 is Persona 5 Strikers. So this is set for release on the 23rd of February. It is developed by Peace Studio and Omega Force, and of course it's a hack and slash RPG that is set to be released on PC, PlayStation 4 and Switch. It's basically a cross between Dynasty Warriors and Persona 5, and it's going to feature elements of both, with the real-time action combat of the former and the turn-based Persona battling of the latter. The game is actually set 6 months after the events of Persona 5, and Joker and the rest of the Phantom Thieves are back for this installment. It actually came out in Japan last year, and it's going to have a worldwide release in 2021. I'm a big fan of Persona 5. I love the world, love the characters. I haven't beat the game yet, so I'm hoping I can beat this before jumping into Strikers, because obviously it does continue on the story. But it looks really, really interesting, and you know, the Hyrule Warriors series has been incredibly successful recently. Age of Calamity, which sort of took on Breath of the Wild, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they do this game justice. So it looks really interesting. The art style, the music looks great again, and yeah, it's definitely a game I'm looking forward to coming out in 2021. Number 2 is Returnal. So that is set for release on the 19th of March. It is a PlayStation 5 exclusive developed by Housemarque, a third-person shooter, science fiction, psychological horror with roguelike elements. It's set in a futuristic sci-fi setting where players take on the role of Celine, a space pilot stranded on an alien planet and stuck in a time loop following every death. The player is equipped with a suit and armed with high-tech weapons, and apparently it's going to take advantage of the PlayStation 5's DualSense controller, haptic feedback and 3D spatial audio. This game looks really intriguing, really interesting. I like the whole idea of it being in a time loop, and yeah, it looks creepy but cool and sci-fi, and it's definitely a game I'm looking forward to picking up this year. And it's great to see that Sony are kicking off the year already with a couple of really good exclusives. Number 3 is Monster Hunter Rise. This is set for release on the 26th of March, and it's going to be an exclusive on the Nintendo Switch, of course developed and published by Capcom. It's an action RPG. It's actually the 6th mainline game following on from the incredible success of Monster Hunter World. There are some elements and improvements that were in World that have been taken from that game and are going to be included in Monster Hunter Rise, including the same seamless map approach in that game, which I'm very happy to see. There are going to be some new game mechanics introduced in Rise as well, including a rideable companion called a Palamute, and a new tool to replace the clutch core called the wire bug, which basically allows players to scale cliffs and take advantage of the more vertical level design, as well as gaining new vantages to attack monsters. There is also a new mechanic called Wyvern Rider, which we recently heard about, which basically allows hunters to mount monsters and to control that creature to a limited degree to either attack other monsters or knock it into walls or control the way in which it moves. As all previous Monster Hunter games, it is going to support local and online multiplayer with up to 3 other players, and there is actually a demo available at the moment for you to download and check out, which is going to be available until the 1st of February. And Dante, myself, Edge, and Crack on Gaming, we're big Monster Hunter players, so we're going to be checking that out and playing that. And if you would like a first impressions video, or you're interested to hear about the game and what we think of it, let me know in the comment section below, and I'd be more than happy to do a video on that. But yeah, Monster Hunter World was my very first Monster Hunter game, and I loved my time with it. I've put a ridiculous amount of hours into that game, and I'm really looking forward to Monster Hunter Rise and some of the new monsters on offer here. So it does look really cool. Number 4 is It Takes Two. This is going to be out on the 26th of March. It's developed by Hazel Light Studios. That's the team that brought us A Way Out. It's basically a co-op action adventure platform game, and the story follows Rose, a young child whose parents get divorced. Unable to cope with the situation, she actually creates two dolls representing her parents, Cody and May, but these dolls come to life. The game can be played online and local co-op with a friend, and each player will control one of the specific dolls. Just like A Way Out, the game will also feature a friend's pass for you to invite a friend to download the game and play it with you, which is really generous and really awesome. But if it's anything like A Way Out, it should have some really cool cooperative gameplay and set pieces, and the split screen feature in A Way Out was really interesting, and that is going to be back in It Takes Two. I like the art style, I like the idea of it. I really enjoyed Hazelight Studios' previous game, so I'm very much looking forward to jumping in and checking this out with Dante, and who knows, we may even live stream it for you guys to check out. Number 5 is Outriders. This is set for release on the 1st of April. It's developed by People Can Fly, of course published by Square Enix, and it's a third-person co-op RPG looter shooter. The game is set on the planet Enoch, an alien world that humanity is trying to colonize. Beginning of the game, something goes astray with the expedition team, who encounter a massive energy storm known as the Anomaly. The storm grants both Enoch's inhabitants and its wildlife, as well as some of the colonists, superpowers. Players can create their own customizable characters and choose from 4 different classes, each of them having unique abilities. The 4 classes include the Trickster, who can manipulate time, the Pyromancer, who can manipulate fire, the Devastator, who unleashes seismic attacks, and the Technomancer. For me, I'm really looking forward to jumping in and playing this cooperatively. I want to get a 4-player team so that we can jump in and play together, and I'm hoping I can convince Dante and Edge to pick up this game. But I really love the look of the Trickster, but the combat and the gameplay seems really good. I've got to say that for me, 2021 was definitely the year of first-person shooters. There were a lot of really good first-person shooters that came out last year, including Doom Eternal. There were a lot of first-person games, but this year seems to be the year of the third-person shooter, and Outriders looks pretty solid for me, and I like the setting, I like the world, and it's definitely what I'm interested in jumping in and checking out. Number 6 is Kenna Bridge of Spirits. This is set to come out in the first quarter of 2021, so anytime up until the end of March. It is going to be available on PC, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, and it's developed and published by Ember Lab. It's an action-adventure game, and the story follows Kenna, a spirit guide who uses her magical abilities to help deceased people move from the physical to the spiritual world. The art style of this game is so gorgeous. I love the art style. It's like just a gorgeous, like, not Studio Ghibli, but just it looks like an animated movie, you know, something like Pixar. It looks gorgeous. The gameplay looks really cool as well. You have this magical staff which you can use in attacks. You can also turn it into a bow from the looks of it as well. But it just looks really intriguing, and yeah, it looks gorgeous, and I'm sure it's going to be a really enjoyable experience to play, and it's definitely a game I'm going to be checking out this year. Number 7 is Mass Effect Legendary Edition. This is set for release in the first or second quarter of 2021, so maybe anytime up until the end of June, July. It is going to be available on the PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but apparently it will also include next-gen upgrades as well. Whether or not those upgrades will be available on release, we'll have to wait and see. But this is a remaster of the original Mass Effect trilogy, and it will include all of the DLC. It's of course going to be upgrading the resolution and introducing a whole heap of graphical improvements, as well as performance and frame rate improvements on the original game as well. So I'm really looking forward to checking it out. As you all know, Mass Effect is a series very close to my heart. I consider it one of the best RPGs ever made. I love it, and I cannot wait to jump back in and play through the trilogy again. And I'm probably going to be live streaming that for you from start to finish. And we will definitely be jumping in and playing some Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, because when that first came out, I put hundreds of hours into that. So I'm looking forward to that, definitely. And for those of you that maybe have never played the Mass Effect trilogy, oh my god, this is the year for you to pick it up and play it, and it's going to be amazing. Number 8 is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This is set for release in the first or second quarter of 2021. Of course, it's developed by Insomniac Games and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, and it's a PlayStation 5 exclusive. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart will actually explore the story of Ratchet and Clank further as they traverse across worlds in multiple realities to stop a villainous emperor from exploiting the dimensional collapse caused by a malfunctioning device to instigate a plan to exterminate all organic life in the universe. So obviously, Ratchet and Clank have to save the day. It is going to be taking advantage of the solid state drive in the PlayStation 5 as well as the DualSense controller. The whole idea of instantaneously jumping between worlds using the wrist tether looks incredible. It looks gorgeous. The gameplay and gadgets and gunplay that we had from the remade Ratchet and Clank a few years ago is back, and I really enjoyed my experience playing the first one, so I'm very much looking forward to jumping in and playing Rift Apart this year. It's probably one of my most anticipated games coming out in 2021. Number 9 is Horizon Forbidden West. This is set for release in the third or fourth quarter of 2021. Again, another PlayStation 5 exclusive. And of course, it's developed by Guerrilla Games and published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It's an action RPG and sequel to 2017's Horizon Zero Dawn, and it will continue the story of Aloy, who is sent on a quest to the arcane frontier known as the Forbidden West to find the source of a mysterious plague that is killing all life that it infects. The map is set to be larger than the previous game, filled with secrets that lie beneath the ruins from the world of the old ones. The game will also feature a multitude of iconic locations, including a ruined San Francisco and Yosemite Valley with various biomes. One of the main additions to the sequel, though, is the element of underwater exploration, which should be really cool. So we may also get to see some like monsters and creatures and mechanical dinosaur type creatures under the water as well, so that should be really awesome. I was a huge fan of Horizon Zero Dawn when it came out. I fell in love with the world. The story was really interesting. It was one of the most visually stunning games of that generation, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how they use the power of the PlayStation 5 on the sequel. But the minute-to-minute gameplay in Horizon Zero Dawn was also just so good. So yeah, this is definitely one of my most anticipated games as well, and I'm really looking forward to it. Number 10 is God of War 2. Now, apparently this is set for release in 2021. We've only had a teaser trailer at the moment, which really didn't show much more than a voiceover and the God of War symbol. But we do know a little bit about it. So obviously this game is developed by Santa Monica Studio. It's a sequel to 2018's God of War, and the game is expected to cover Ragnarok, which is a series of events that bring about the end of days and depicts the death of the Norse gods. I'm really looking forward to picking back up with Kratos and Atreus' story, because obviously the first God of War really did end on a bit of a cliffhanger. There was a massive reveal at the end of that game, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it's gonna go. Personally speaking, I don't think this game is going to come out in 2021. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets pushed to next year or even the year after, because we haven't seen any gameplay yet, and unless I actually physically see gameplay, for me, that's a sign that the game isn't done, it's not ready. So I've no problem if it does get pushed on. If it comes out this year, that would be amazing, but I have no problem if it gets pushed on into 2022, and I'm willing to wait. Number 11 is Hogwarts Legacy. This has also got a rough release date of 2021. It's going to be coming out on the PC, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One and Xbox Series X. It is developed by Avalanche Software and published by Warner Brothers Interactive interactive entertainment. It's an action RPG set in the late 1800s following a story at Hogwarts. Players will actually get to choose their house and attend classes at the school, as well as exploring an open world which includes locations like the Forbidden Forest and Hogsmeade Village. Players will learn to cast magic spells, brew potions, and tame magical beasts. There will also apparently be a morality system which will also play a role in the game. But I'm a big Harry Potter fan. I've read all the books, watched all the movies. I love the world of Harry Potter, so I'm really looking forward to being able to maybe create my own character and role play in that world. And the fact that it is set in the late 1800s, before, well before the story of Harry Potter, has me really intrigued. So I'll be really looking forward to checking that out, and hopefully it will have a good story with it. But hopefully it will come out in 2021, but it is definitely a game I'm looking forward to. Number 12 is Ghostwire Tokyo, also having a rough release date in 2021. This is going to be a PlayStation 5 and PC release title, and it's developed by Tango Gameworks and published by Bethesda Softworks. It's an action adventure game played from a first-person perspective. So the general premise is nearly all of Tokyo's citizens have vanished mysteriously, and otherworldly spirits known as visitors have invaded the city. The player will combat these spirits using a variety of psychic and paranormal abilities. The combat director Shinichiro Hara described the combat as karate meets magic, which sounds really interesting. But yeah, I love the art style. It looks kind of like really creepy, but also quite colorful in places, and it sounds really intriguing. But I'm most interested in the gameplay and the combat, how that actually feels and how that actually works. But Ghostwire Tokyo is definitely a game on my radar. Number 13 is Breath of the Wild 2. Now, we don't have a confirmed release date for this yet. This is yet to be announced. Of course, it's going to be an exclusive on the Switch, but this year is the 35th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda. So just like Nintendo did with Mario, I would be heavily surprised if they didn't have some kind of big reveal or game release this year for Zelda. And what bigger release than the Breath of the Wild 2? So obviously we know it's a sequel to Breath of the Wild. Now it's very surprising that we're getting this, and it's got a lot of people very excited, including myself. Apparently the team behind Breath of the Wild 2 did actually first conceive of the sequel when originally planning the Breath of the Wild's DLC. The team actually came up with too many ideas for the DLC content, so some of which could not be implemented in that due to technical constraints. So they actually decided to use their ideas for a new game, hence the sequel. According to Aonuma, the sequel will actually build atop the original's world with a new story and gameplay elements, and apparently it's inspired by Red Dead Redemption 2, which is really interesting. So maybe we'll have like real world events that will happen or something, or side missions will just organically happen as you come across things in the world. That should be quite interesting, because the world of Red Dead Redemption 2 was just so vibrant and full of life. So I'm really looking forward to that idea. We have, of course, had a bit of a teaser trailer, which doesn't give too much away. We do see some kind of like mummified being, which maybe is Ganon. A lot of people are speculating that Calamity Ganon actually is not Ganon, and that somehow he's been kind of imprisoned or put in stasis, and obviously the Calamity Ganon is him gradually breaking out and this magic weakening. So maybe we actually will take on the corporeal or the physical form of Ganon in Breath of the Wild 2. We do also see Hyrule Castle at some point floating in the sky as well. So maybe, this game maybe is in the sky, a little bit like Skyward Sword possibly. We'll have to wait and see. But I am very excited for Breath of the Wild 2. I actually completed Breath of the Wild only last year, so I'm really looking forward to jumping in and checking it out, especially after finishing that game and also playing Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. So I'm really looking forward to the sequel, and it probably is one of my biggest, most anticipated games on the Nintendo Switch. And finally, the 14th game I'm obviously looking forward to is Final Fantasy 16. We don't have a confirmed release date yet for this. This is yet to be announced, but it will be a PlayStation 5 exclusive. It's of course developed and published by Square Enix and is an action RPG. It looks incredible. It's actually set in this kind of medieval fantasy world known as Velisthia, I think I pronounced that right, where the people live comfortably thanks to the mountains of crystal called the Mother Crystals. The main cast will actually include several characters, including Clive Rosfield, who I think we will play as, the firstborn child of the Archduke of Rosaria, who embarks on a quest for revenge after tragic events involving the dark icon Ifrit occurs. You will also be accompanied by his younger brother Joshua Rosfield and Jill Warwick, who is a woman from the fallen Northern Territories who is Clive and Joshua's foster sister and confidant. The gameplay has Clive fighting using a combination of melee-based sword attacks and magic abilities, and the combat seems much more in line with Final Fantasy 15, so it's a lot more action focused real-time combat than say the more turn-based combat of Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Final Fantasy 16 is developed by Square Enix's Creative Business Unit 3. Now that's the same division behind the development and maintenance of the online MMO RPG Final Fantasy 14, which apparently has an incredible storyline according to Edge. So if that is the case, that has me even more excited because they really have done amazing things with Final Fantasy 14. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to do. And I also like this move towards medieval times in Final Fantasy 16, because obviously a lot of the Final Fantasy games have been quite futuristic in recent years. So it's really nice to see a completely different setting. So there are just some of the games I'm really looking forward to, set to be released in 2021. Let me know what games you're looking forward to coming out this year in the comments section below. Let's get a conversation going. And if there's any games that I have missed and haven't included, please pop those in the comment section below and tell me a little bit about them and why you're looking forward to them. Anyway, hope you guys have a great week, of course. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. Bye, guys.